Good morning, Jen. How are you?
Good. How are you? I have the other call going. I've got the welcome on the other screen, but if you're good to go, and then you can just share your screen and I'll let people in once the session starts.
Okay. And so we've got what, 10 minutes? Are we?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So you got lots of time.
I just want to make sure that everything's working right.
I like it.
Too much time is better than not enough. By the way, thank you so much. Oh, PowerPoint. How do I get to that?
So bring it up on your screen and then you can hit share screen.
Okay. Do you mean bring it up on my screen from my files?
Yeah.
Okay. So do I minimize this one?
You can, yeah. You'll see at the bottom there's a share screen option,
Yep.
like on the bottom toolbar.
Yep.
And it'll let you go into your presentation.
The topics. Okay, so it's being recorded. I would never have thought that these would be the two topics that would be a hot button issue and something that is prevalent that we need to be speaking about. And those are social media and the new MAID legislation. And please know that the MAID legislation is not something that you need my voice higher. Does that do it for you, Trevor? You can only just hear me. Try putting it up on your computer. I'm at 100% here. Is everyone having some difficulty hearing me? Aha. Okay.
It may be their screens. You're coming in loud for me, Jan. So you're muted, but everyone's muted, but I don't know if it's their volumes.
Okay, check and see it for everyone. Check and see if your volume needs to go up. Are you able to see, Jen, are you able to direct where they would find that volume on their computer?
Sure, give me 1 second. I'm gonna make sure you're fully up here as well. Is that any better?
Does that sound better for you, Trevor? No, it's not. Michael's saying no. And neither is Trevor. Trevor's saying no.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me look at some stuff. Jan, is it your headset, or can you try adjusting your microphone on your headset? They're saying they can hear me loud and clear, but perhaps it's your microphone.
How is that? Is that better? It's not changing it. Huh.
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear for me. I'm just trying to troubleshoot. Give me 1 second while I continue to play with some volumes.
My mic is up 100%. So I'm not certain about what's happening. My computer is up to 100% as well. Rarely do people ever tell me I'm speaking too softly. Usually I could practice for a hog call.
That's cute.
Test.
Do you want to try just starting the presentation and we'll see if it picks up? I'm not sure why it wouldn't be coming through.
Okay. Yep. I'd be glad to do that.
And see, I mean, I know you have your headset in and I can hear you. So I'm just trying to look at the back end to see what other settings might be
Sure.
different.
Okay. And so what we're going to be looking at here today is going to be the legislation around social media and the legislation around the around MAID. And so each of these topics here are so different now than 5 years ago that I think it's really important for us to talk about it because it is so different. Um, as was indicated in the email that Crystal had sent out just on July 6th, and I noticed this one piece: addictions and mental health have been proclaimed as the next pandemic. And I think about in terms of the work of Anton Boysen. And now I'm drawing back from history because this is almost 100 years ago. And Boysen, who himself was a participant who struggled with significant mental health issues, went on then to develop the entire practice, one of the primary practices around mental health care today that is there. And he is also the individual who wrote the book, The Living Human Document. And he advocated about pulling away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life and hustle and bustle 100 years ago. Well, when we think about how quickly life has sped up, even in the last 2 years or 5 years, yes, we've had some slowing down. However, not in the area of social media, not in the area of like our work life schedule, our work life balance. Our digital addictions have enhanced hand over fist here during the pandemic because it has been our only way of connecting socially with individuals. Is my volume any better right now? No?
I've asked Ben. We have another technician on site, so we're trying to
Okay.
get him to assist as well. From our end, this side of Zoom, everything looks good, and I can hear you. So we're just trying to figure out why some people are having issues. So we're working with this as quickly as possible.
Is there anyone who's not having a problem or who can hear me? Um, is so everyone's having difficulty?
No,
I
there's people who
I
are
can hear
speaking.
you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
I can hear you, but when others are talking, their volume is just so loud. Like I have my adjustment up to about 60, where normally it could be 25 would be high.
I can hear well once I put my earbud in.
Okay. Good. Okay. We're going to just continue and move forward. Uh, Perhaps those who are having difficulty hearing me, um, can you take out a headset and see if that makes a difference for you? I know sometimes it does with people when I'm working with them, that their headsets sometimes interfere with Zoom as well. So that can be another piece that you may want to take a look at. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time and the time that we do have. And so I am going to keep going. If I've understood correctly, Jen, it is being recorded. And so it will be something that will be available to be heard if they're
Absolutely.
able to figure out what's going on with the
Absolutely. And we're working to troubleshoot. So if there's something wrong, but I have it recording right now. So we will share this with everyone after as well. So they will have access to it.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So specifically, when we look at what we're going to talk about today as far as social media, we're going to look at factor number 4, maintain a proper professional relationship with all persons served. That is the part of that statement that we are going to be looking at, as well as number 6 ensure that all interpersonal transactions between myself and persons served are non-exploitive. So that's the part that we're going to talk about as far as social media goes. What we're also going to talk about as far as the MAID legislation goes here, that is bringing into controversy for us and will, as time goes on, be a challenge for um, um, for individuals in the future as well. And that is the first point, and that is believe in the dignity and worth of all human beings and pledge my service to the well-being and betterment of them. And the second part of that is part number 3, and that is to promote and assist in the recovery and return to society. And we'll talk more about how that's going to be impacted when we get to the MAID legislation in a few moments here. And so when we're talking about social media, it's all forms. It's a non-discriminatory platform here that we're talking about. It's not that there's some that I don't like or anything else. It's not about, sort of my preferences. However, what it is it's about the platforms that are available out there. I understand in many organizations, having a social media connection with individuals that you're supporting has been up to this point. And for some, it has been a mandatory piece that you be able to connect with individuals through social media. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. And so this is where it becomes important to have a variety of accounts. If your workplace is saying that you need to be able to connect through social media with people, that individuals you are supporting, then you need to have an account for work that is very clearly a work account with your first name only. And then, and it might be Robin from this facility, and so might be Robin from Homewood, or it might be, Sarah from Edgewood. It might be, Terry from, wherever. But that you have a variety of social media accounts, not one social media account that you do all of your connecting from. And so the reasoning for that is you cannot protect the confidentiality of the individuals that you are supporting if other people are also on your social media platform. If you are linked with other friends, and so therefore then you are exposing all of your clients to all of your personal family and friends that that may be may also be connecting with you on Facebook. And so what's happening is that what happens with social media is that you then are allowing clients into your personal world. And while we think that it is a private platform and it is a secure platform, it is anything but. Anybody can get any transcripts off of your social media account, and that's why you need to be very careful. When it comes to ethical violations that have happened through social media and through chat rooms, through connecting through whether that is whether that is Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, doesn't matter, email, cell phones, home phones, chat rooms, the very people that you may be supporting and you may be going to all extent to extend yourself 24/7, so to speak, to try to be the best support for that person, will be the very same people who in a moment, if they believe it is necessary, will openly disclose and release all of the transcripts of the entire time that you have ever connected with them on social media, about tone, about content, about recommendations, about anything that you have conveyed with them. After having read thousands upon thousands of pages of social media dialogue, while doing, the PCRs and the conduct review, professional conduct reviews, let me tell you, the very people that you have poured your heart and soul out to and intervened in your own personal life and downtime will be the very people that will assist in discrediting you. And I really want to encourage you, keep your boundaries very tight. Be very careful with self-disclosure on social media if you are using a social media platform. The positive outcomes, for connecting with someone that you're supporting, or you're providing therapeutic intervention for, is that it can bring a human face to the client's reality. It can help them recognize there's another human being that cares. And when we look at that whole piece around caring, that plays a vital part in people feeling supported. I just really want to encourage you, do that in a way that has very clear boundaries and time constraints on that as well. Some of the negative outcomes, though, for the impact on self-disclosure here is it can create a burden for the client then to take care of you, because they may be hearing about other things that are going on in your life as well. It blurs boundaries for future situations. It puts you at risk of inadvertently disclosing a relationship with somebody else who says, oh, I noticed so-and-so left a message on your wall. Well, wait a minute. And you say, oh, yeah, that's just work. Well, then that means your friends and your family know where you work and what you do. You have just created a violation by disclosing that you know someone from work who may be a person that you are supporting. And according to the Privacy Commissioner of Canada, that is an ethical violation. So what does it also do? It jeopardizes your future professional relationship with that client when your self-disclosure may not be what the person found helpful. What is important is the disclosing of personal information such as qualifications and experience. Be honest, but be brief. Any additional training that you have had, including all other trainings in the areas that's in question that the person may be inquiring about. However, I want you to remember, private life can be used against you in the future and in ways that come right out of the blue, and you never would have envisioned that that this would have had an impact on the person's life. An individual, in fact, last week, I had another conversation with a former student of mine who got in touch with me and said, Jan, I just have to tell you something. I have to tell you that you're right, and I don't want you to be right, but you are, and here's the situation that I found myself in. He said, I so wish I could take back the fact that I have disclosed to other people that I too have have had a substance abuse problem, because it has now backfired horribly on me. And so that may be something that you want to consider, whether you want to still be living in your past or whether you want to keep that part of your life private. If you're talking about your private life, it needs to be experiences only that are in the past, not current. And once you share it, please, please, please remember, it is out of your control. and you have no say in what happens to that information when you have disclosed it on an email, whether you have disclosed it on a social media platform. You don't get, you no longer have the privilege to your own story, and anyone can use it against you. And that's not been helpful, nor has it been fair. Um, um, so, what are some guidelines around personal use, or talking, disclosing of your own personal information? General talk about yourself. If it's a past experience, you need to be able to have emotional distance from it if it is used inappropriately against you, so that this doesn't trample you and ruin you now from an emotional standpoint. Be to the point. Be very clear about it. Um, uh, be to the point. Use very good vocal and body messages. That's an important part. Be sensitive to the client's reactions as well, and sensitive to helper client differences. We are not our clients, but our clients are not us either. We have not shared past experiences. We have not shared circumstances of our lives. There may be similarities, but when people say, well, you know how I feel. No, actually, we don't. We never know how that person feels because we haven't lived in their shoes. We haven't walked their journey. We may have walked a journey that's very similar, but it does not mean we know what's happened for them. And it doesn't matter what those circumstances are. So my recommendation is please share your personal experiences very sparingly, but also be aware of countertransference. So why is it that you believe you need to share that information? Can somebody who has their mic on, can you mute yourself so that we're not getting the background noise, please? Thank you. So I want us to take a look right here at this relationship continuum. And it is the difference between a professional relationship, a friendship, and a lover or familial relationship. When we are looking for the maximum professional effectiveness, that's everything that's going from above the line that's right here, that's right across here. So when we're looking at a professional relationship, the needs of the client are primary. The boundaries are fixed, and yes, they are rigid. If we want to be as effective as what we could possibly be. And so, we have to remember, if we go back to our canon of ethics, we have to remember that it is that the client's needs are number one, not our needs. And so they are there because they have forfeited 30 days, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years in a recovery program, and they have invested in that. We need to respect the investment that they have given to their recovery, and we need to give them the absolute best, most effective responses that are in their best interest, so that we're over here. As we begin to go down this slide, and it's less about their needs being number one, and we're starting to get into some shifting here where it's partly about us, that we need to be very, very, very careful because we are treading in a dangerous zone here. Because for this amount of your relationship with your client, then what you are saying to client is, dear client, I'm sharing part of my life, so you're responsible for part of my life here. And while they may see that initially as a real privilege and as a very awesome thing that their counselor would share about their own life with them, they don't see it that way down the road when there's been an ethical boundary violation. And so I really want to give you guys a heads up. This isn't worth losing your certification over. It is when we start to cross boundaries, we need to think very seriously about why we would want to do that. And is it that we're getting a need met? If so, that's where the countertransference comes in. Do we feel pumped up when we share about perhaps our own recovery story or our own journey that we made it? And if that's the case, that's not helpful for the client. And we need to stop and we need to rethink this. When we look at a friendship relationship, not a work relationship. So I want you to think about, your best friend that you would pick up the phone and call 24/7, 365 days of the year. You wouldn't hesitate to call them. If you wanted to go out and do something really wacky, or just go have fun, or have somebody to talk to at 3 a.m. This is where, yes, part of the other person's needs are being met, but part of your needs are being met as well. These two around this friendship unit, sometimes it's more about them, sometimes it's more about us. That's a friendship. When we continue on down this continuum here, and we're headed then into that lover familial relationship, there are times that it is okay for that relationship, in a lover familial relationship, to sometimes be all about me or all about you. Do we oftentimes see it in this area here, more of a give and take 50-50? Yeah, but there's quite a few people who have experienced COVID through this last 16 months who have discovered that they had personal needs that family needed to take care of them. That's 100% about them. It's not about our clients needing to take care of us. This is a familial relationship. But what is the effectiveness here in those for change? It's not about a change relationship here, because we're not trying to change anything. This is a being relationship. I think about sometimes from a parenting standpoint that we may try to change our adolescents' way of thinking sometime, or even our preschoolers' way of thinking sometimes, and not be terribly successful. However, kindness can go a long way, and sometimes you do get that back and forth piece here. But I want right now, what we're focusing on here is our maximum professional effectiveness. That's why over here, if you're talking to your teenager about within a family context and you're in a work mode, you're not going to necessarily be very effective, because they're not in a place where they are ready to hear that. When we look at the differences between professional relationships and personal relationships over here, we've got a variety of things here. There's an imbalance of power in a professional relationship, because you hold the fiduciary responsibility to ensure your client's safety and well-being. What does that mean? You are the only one in that relationship that is responsible for establishing boundaries. That's your job as a professional. So your relationship is solely for the client. It's not for you. This is a 100% Zippo for us. This is about them. Payment is involved. That's our part of that relationship. It is a time-limited relationship while you are in a therapeutic relationship with that client. Now, in some organizations, you need to know that a professional relationship means that you cannot ever have a relationship outside of outside of a therapeutic one with that person forever. And so that it is never acceptable then to, if you have met through a therapeutic relationship, it is never allowed in some registering bodies. They do not allow you to then have an ongoing relationship. In some organizations, it's 2 years. In other organizations, it may be 5 years. But please recognize that that changes from organization to organization as to how long of a gap there needs to be between a therapeutic relationship and a personal relationship. It is about scheduled appointments. These times together are separate from other people, and from the clinician standpoint, there is a limited emotional investment. Why is that a limited emotional investment? Because when that session is done, you have to be in a place to be able to move on and be fully present 100% for the next client, for your next session. And you can't burn yourself out. Trust me, in doing this for 30 years, I have learned that very difficultly from time to time, that you need to be aware of how much you are able to invest, and you need to have other ways of taking care of yourself. From a personal standpoint, there's a balance in power between friends and between lover familial. You each have skin in the game here. It's a give and take relationship. You know, sometimes it's 50-50, sometimes it's 100-0. Particularly in either a friendship relationship or a familial relationship. There is no payment that's exchanged. It's a long-term relationship. It's outside of an office setting. It can involve families of both people. And yes, there is an emotional investment here. And so when we're looking at it, and we're specifically focusing here to maintain proper professional relationship with all persons served, we need to remember that we are the ones that are solely, completely, 100% responsible for saying no. A client may proposition you. A client may want more of a friendship with you. A client may want you to come and come to their birthday party, or attend their wedding, or come and have dinner with your family. You need to be the one who sets that. They may be asking themselves to do that. You need to be the one who's clear enough to establish those boundaries that say, wait a minute, hold on. No, the transfer of the boundaries becoming looser is not going to be a helpful one here in the long term. And we look at 6, ensure that all interpersonal transactions between myself and persons served are non-exploitive, and, well, I want to add here too, is essential to their good recovery. When we become the only person that someone in recovery turns to, we are teaching them to be dependent on us, and that's called codependence, because we need them as much as they need us, and that's not okay. Helping them to connect with other people in their support network so they have an entire safety net around them, because you cannot ever be 100% for every single person in every single situation. And so I really want to encourage you that even if your workplace needs you to have a social media presence with them, that you have a very clear conversation about who are their other top 10 people that they also can connect with, that they also can get support with. And because this is what's essential to their good recovery. If we make ourselves be the only support system for them, and for them to believe that they absolutely need us, we've got a problem here. And that's not going to be helpful for them and their long-term recovery. And remember, that's why we're working with that person, is to help them get to where they want to be. So, some questions to ask yourself when it comes to social media, okay? Are all my interactions on social media 100% for the client's best interest? And if someone else was reading it, would they agree with my decision? Let me tell you, there have been many times in the thousands of pages that I have read of documentation while doing a professional conduct review that is not the case at all. And I just really want to caution this here. Can I guarantee confidentiality, or that my account on social media hasn't been hacked? If it is an account that is managed by your place of work, then they too will be taking responsibility if it is hacked as well. But we have to be able to guarantee that that's not going to happen. Otherwise, in Canada, you are in violation of the Privacy Commissioner of Canada's criteria for confidentiality. Am I really able? Like, we're good. We're all, pardon me, we're all really good at what we do. We wouldn't be doing it if we weren't. We have a passion to do that. But am I my best professional self when ... I'm overtired, I'm hungry, I've had a disagreement with my partner, my child, my car won't start, the kid next door just threw a baseball through my living room window, and I got this social media text from my client. Am I really truly going to be able to respond in my best professional self? Because that's what they deserve, is our best, the best that we have to offer. And if we aren't, then we need to be asking ourselves, why are we responding right now? Am I responding out of a need for somebody to come alongside me? Or am I responding out of their need? Am I creating dependence on me by being available 100% of the time? I struggle. I really struggle, folks, with the people who take these wonderful, where did I put it? I didn't even know what I did with it. That take this wonderful magical device to bed with them with the alerts on, so that they are receiving texts from their clients all night long. Am I really responding in my best interest at 3:30 in the morning? I don't know about you, but that's not my best professional time. I'm not awake. But I want you to think about it. If we've created that dependence, if we respond outside of the parameters of like outside of our work parameters, we're not helping them. Is this acting in their best interest? I just want you to think about some of these questions. You know, as I said, having read this, I'll guarantee you they're nowhere near the client's best interest sometimes of what's happening here. And so, um, um, if you aren't engaging on social media with them outside of the guidelines or the things that we have talked about, the boundaries that we have talked about, if you are not doing that, it then eliminates the possibility of crossing or wandering across boundaries if you're not using a social media platform. I'm going to say that again. If you're not using it, it eliminates the possibility that you are going to cross or wander, meander, and get yourself into difficult territory. So, I know some of this is very controversial. I get that. I'm very aware of that. However, I do think because there's been too many people who have got themselves in trouble and then lost their careers, and I don't want to see that happen to anyone. I want to move on to the second part here, and this is new to the roster. It has not been something that we have even needed to consider prior to this. And that the date that this legislation became law in Canada was March 17th of 2020. This is brand new to the street, and that's the MAID legislation, medical assistance in death. And so I want the ethical piece, our canon, believe in the dignity and worth of all human beings and pledge my service to their well-being. That's one of them. The second one is to promote and assist in the recovery and return to society of every person served. However, with this new legislation, we're looking at very different possible impacts of the legislation. And so when we look at these impacts, this is what interventions might look like. And, we have all worked very hard at intervening in suicide interventions, in overdose recoveries. However, if individuals give instructions now that no, they don't want to live, that life is not what they want, then we too will have an obligation to refer this person on or to not intervene. And this is a hot button right now. And so it's going to impact suicide intervention. It is currently impacting physicians who come from the perspective of, I actually had been part of a group with physicians where they were saying there were 6 other family physicians and specialists, cardiac specialists, who were all on this team, and during a webinar. And so what they were saying was that their college now will not allow them to not refer individuals to a physician who will assist them to die. And so for the family physicians, for the specialists, from some of our top docs in this country, their only option right now is to retire. And that is exactly what's happening. And so this is having a very significant impact. It is also going to have a significant impact on each one of us as a clinician, particularly if we believe in the sanctity of life, or in returning to health, in helping individuals work through issues that have been problematic for them. I think that there are times that just about all of us probably at some point have have struggled or hit a really low point in our lives when we have questioned, what's life all about? Do I really want this? And so I don't think this is an unusual piece. I don't think this is um, um, an unrealistic notion for people to be thinking or to be asking for. But now the criteria has changed. So initially, historically, June of 2016, Parliament of Canada passed federal legislation that allows eligible Canadians to request medical assistance in dying. Um, October 5th of 2020, there was an act to amend the Criminal Code of Canada to allow for medical assistance in dying. And that's what made the changes for the College of Physicians and Surgeons. March 17th, Parliament passed revised legislation that has made important changes to who may be eligible to obtain medical assistance in dying and the process of assessment. And these changes took place immediately in March. And so not all healthcare providers are comfortable with medical assistance in dying. And because it contravenes the Hippocratic Oath, which each one of those medical individuals have attested to and have sworn to, for them, it is counterintuitive that now they would intentionally, without a foreseeable death in the future happening, that a physically healthy and well person would be able to ask for their life to be terminated. And so not all healthcare providers are comfortable with this. Participating in MAID may not be consistent with a provider's belief and values. And the federal legislation does not force any person to provide or help to provide it. But what they do mandate is that you have to make that referral and make sure the referral is going to work for them. For some individuals, that is in direct opposition to their beliefs. And so difficulties arising with not intervening or in not referring the individual to a practitioner who will assist them is where the problem has come in with the MAID legislation. And so what's been happening, those physicians are retiring, and that's as they have discovered, that appears to be their only option here. And so there are two types of medical assistance in dying available to Canadians, and they each include a physician or a nurse practitioner who would directly administer a substance that causes death, such as an injection of a drug. And this is becoming known as clinician-administered medical assistance in dying. The second one is provides or prescribes a drug that the eligible person takes themselves in order to bring about their own death. And this is where it becomes really tricky with substance abuse here. And it's being known as self-administered medical assistance in dying. And so therefore intervening when that person has used that substance under their own free will has clouded this issue and is not what individuals had thought it would be here. And so in order to be eligible for medical assistance in dying, you must meet all of the following criteria. And so be eligible for health services funded by the federal government or a province or a territory during a minimum period of residency or a waiting period for eligibility. Usually it's 3 months if you're jumping provinces. Generally, though, Visitors to Canada are not eligible for medical assistance in dying. They must be at least 18 years old and mentally competent. This means capable of making healthcare decisions for yourself. Have a grievous and irremediable medical condition. And unfortunately, for some people, mental health and substance abuse is seen as an irremediable medical condition. Now, as far as the Mental Health Act goes, individuals where it is solely a mental health disability will have to wait until March 17th of 2023. There is a 2-year window. They are still discussing the rest of this, of what the mental health aspect will be, but substance abuse falls into this category here. They make a voluntary request for MAID that is not a result of pressure or influence from anyone, and that they give informed consent to participate. And so what does that mean? The grievous and irremediable medical condition. To be considered it, you must meet all of the following criteria. Have a serious illness, disease, or disability. Now, it excludes mental illness until March 17th, 2023, but this is what the legislation will look like. To be in an advanced state of decline that cannot be reversed. Unfortunately, some people live with the belief that substance abuse cannot change. And this is where the diagnosis of addiction becomes problematic as individuals go on. Experience unbearable physical or mental suffering from your illness, disease, disability, or state of decline that cannot be relieved under conditions that you consider acceptable. You do not need to have a fatal or terminal condition to be eligible for medical assistance in dying. And again, Canadians whose only medical condition is a mental illness and who otherwise meet all eligibility criteria will not be eligible till March of 2023. So as we are looking, I want to be respectful of time and of your questions that you may have of this. But when we look at social media, and we look at MAID, they're all active parts of our life post-COVID. There's many different perspectives and approaches. And oftentimes it's raising questions for us as clinicians, and part of the reason why I have raised this as well here today is I want you to think about the impact that it may have on you if you have someone come into a recovery program and they don't want help to change. They want help in just ending their life. And I think we need to look at those values, and we need to be ready when that comes down the pike. As far as mental health is concerned, it's already here as far as substance use and abuse is concerned. Now, one thing I do want to say is that my concerns come in here not with the individual whose death is imminent, that there is absolutely nothing else that can happen for that person. Those are not the people I'm talking about. That's not the application of MAID that I am making reference to today. Okay, so, is there something that would be important to you that needs to be added here or asked here. Jen, are you able to open up the mics?
So I've just asked everyone they have the option to unmute themselves. So if they have a question, they can do that or raise their hand and you can call on them. So if they go to the little reactions at the bottom, there's an option to, high five or put up their hand for questions. So they can do that, but they have the ability to unmute themselves right now. Hold on, Jan, with everyone talking, it's just a little bit, and maybe if you're not speaking, if you can just unmute yourself so that we can hear Jan, because I think that's the problem, is that multiple people are chatting over one another. Hold on. Jan, are you muted?
No.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Oh, never mind. It did what I was wondering it would do. Okay, that's good.
So if there's any questions, people can just unmute themselves and ask.
Sure.
I had a question, Jan. It's Luann White here. Thank you so much. I'm like kind of in shock. I wasn't aware of this. So I guess my question is, when we're faced with a client who has expressed that they want to end their life, would we be okay in doing an assist, like, and then referring them, or are we not allowed to sort of do that mental health first aid?
From my understanding of the legislation as it stands right now, if somebody comes to me and is seeking help, yes, we still can do the mental health first aid, but that may be changing in the next 2 years. And so I'm trying to raise an awareness that this could be really a very dicey area for us. But right now, if someone comes to me and says, Jan, I need help, but I don't think life's worth living and I think I'd like to die, I'm going to be doing the intervention until it becomes law where we are not allowed to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Can't believe after doing this for 30 years and intervening and helping individuals change their lives, that we now have come to the place where we're going to be the ones who can find ourselves in hot water if we do intervene. However, you need to remember the mental health legislation is not legislated until March 17th, 2023. And that's going to be a very important date. Keep your eyes and ears open. This has gone on since 2016, but I have to be honest, a lot of this legislation and the activity went on under the radar of most of us.
Oh, what about the city progress?
Put it in the chat. Someone's trying to ask a question. Could you put it in the chat and I could answer it from there?
Hey, Jan, I see a hand up from Tara Saunders. I think she was going to unmute and ask a question.
Great. Go ahead, Tara. It's awesome to know that you're here. That's really cool. I can't find the hands up thing. So please, if you're putting your hand up, could you? Yeah, okay. Just let me know. Hi, Tara. What's your question?
Hi, Jan. It's great to see. Well, I can't see you, but it's great to hear you. I have a question for you, and this is kind of going into the mental health piece that would come into play in 2023. Are they looking at or examining at all those individuals who may go through episodes where I'm thinking particularly of someone who is suffering with bipolar disorder, and in a season of being very low and depressed and I don't want to live. Is that at all being taken into account where there's that cyclical piece in motion?
Everything that I have read, with every piece that I have been involved with, it is not. And that is a personal heartbreaking concern for me. But no, it's not being looked at. And you're right, individuals do go through cyclical times. And yet when a request is made, then that is going to be all that they need in order to in order to be eligible for assisted death.
Oh, that's frightening.
Yes, it is frightening. Absolutely.
I
have a real passion, as Tara is aware, I have a real passion around working with individuals with significant mental health issues and addiction issues, because the individuals want life to be better. And I will pour every ounce of energy I have into helping them do that. But this just is so counterintuitive. And in some cases does feel like it hasn't, it hasn't, all of the options haven't been explored, I don't believe, but that's just my bias. That is my bias, and I will own that.
So as counselors, is there a path you can suggest for us to petition to include this, to try and bring it to the forefront? I mean, I just think of how vulnerable someone is to their thoughts and their emotions when they are at their lowest, and how that can change with proper medication and counseling and a significant change in outlook when all of those support pieces are in place for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. And yet this isn't the perspective. This isn't the perspective that has been taken care of. However, what I do want to say, and my brain is trying to think right now, because I have just lost the person's name. There's a young woman, member of parliament, member of federal parliament, I believe from the Peterborough area, might be Renfrew, who has drawn up some additional legislation and is trying to get first reading right now on that legislation for them to take a different look at mental health and addictions, because it hasn't been fully explored. At least that's the feeling, that it hasn't been fully explored. Google it. I saw her on CTV News about 10 days ago. That's just brought, it's attempting to get first reading on a bill.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. I saw somewhere that two other people have their hand up.
We have a question from Michael as well.
Okay.
I'll get him to unmute and go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good. First off, very good presentation. Hard to hear, but well, it was easy to follow on the screen anyway, so that worked out okay. But I don't know. I get the feeling almost like they're throwing in the towel when it comes to dealing with people with substance issues or mental health issues, in the sense of here's the final treatment, right? Yeah, it's very, very disconcerting that is what they're doing. I mean, one of the things that we do in our training is we get assist training so that we know how to deal with people to walk them through these situations. And now they're saying as if, well, if they say they want to end it, we got to let them end it. And that, like, is there going to be, if someone presents and says that's what they're thinking, is there going to be ramifications against someone who says, no, wait a minute, let's work through this so that, you know, you get some more days on this planet? Is the government going to have some kind of are you going to face retribution in some way, shape, or form for helping someone try to save their life? Is the question I have.
Michael, that is a fabulous question, and it's the same question I have. And if we look at it in terms of what has happened with the medical community, with the physicians and surgeons, and that they are being reprimanded, my fear, and I realize it is a fear, and my fear is that yes, that is what's going to happen, but that's not carved in stone yet.
No,
Okay.
no.
But yes, that appears to me to be the direction that we're going in.
Yeah, and the point of it is, for me, is that sometimes suicidal ideation is part of the process, right? And so now it's going to be the end of the process if this becomes legislation, right? Once they say, okay, I you know, I can't take it anymore. It's not like, are they going to take away our options to be able to show them a different path or turn a light on at the end of the tunnel for them? Or do we have to just sort of shut down at that point and say, okay, well, you know, here we go. This one's taken care of. And then it almost makes you wonder if you know, are they going to outlaw Narcan for people who might overdose on opiates now and say, oh no, it's illegal to give them Narcan because they chose their own way to take this path, which is now legally an option for them to take.
Right. And because of the diagnosis issue of being a medical condition, then that has the possibility that it could go in that direction. But if at one point someone had said, you know, is this what the government's going to do? I have no clue, none at all. As I said 5 years ago, if you told me that this would be what I would be talking on today, I would have gone, no way.
No.
Way.
And one of the things that I typed in the comments is if someone has a mental health or substance abuse issue, how are they then mentally competent to be able to make a decision about what they want to do with their life?
They still meet the criteria if they know what day of the week it is, if they're able to make other decisions, if they are cognitively aware of their around, you know, and it's
Who's the prime minister? Count to 10. Here you go. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for a very good presentation. Hi, everybody.
You're most welcome. Is there there was one other question, and I think I missed it.
I don't see any other hands up right now, but
Okay.
if there's any more questions, then we'll wrap up so that everyone can get on to their next
The
session.
next one.
I think Don had a question he put in the chat.
Dawn had a question. Okay. Are you able to see that one?
Let me scroll. Oh, what about a suicide in progress? That was Don Augustine.
There is uncertainty right now, and clarification has been asked about a suicide in progress. Because what part of the legislation reflects is that they have made a choice to end their life, that is a decision. That's the decision that they have enacted here. And so until, this is my opinion, but you're each going to have to go on your own value system here. Until that's clarified, I will be acting on a suicide that's in progress. I need greater clarification about what they are expecting and anticipating. But these are the questions that weren't addressed when the legislation was designed. Anything else that people are wondering about just before we head out?
So Jan, as I said, we've recorded the session and we will post it and people will have access to that later on, not immediately, but we will get it out as soon as possible.
All righty. Thank you so much, everyone, for having some interest in this area and for being willing to endure on a beautiful Saturday that's not raining unless you're on the East Coast, and then Elsa is taking its toll on you. Anybody here from the East Coast? No? Okay. All right. All the best.